Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be creating a couple of cards using the new Puzzle Cover-Up Die-namics, which is part of our August 2018 release. And you can see here when I lay this die onto this A2 size card panel that it almost fits exactly onto this panel. It's sized just to fit slightly smaller, so you have a little bit of a border around the outside edge. Now this is one single die, but when you die cut it, you're going to get 9 separate puzzle pieces. So you can see here I have them all die cut, and you can easily fit them all back together and create an interactive puzzle. There are so many great things that you can do with this die since it fully die cuts all of the puzzle pieces that work together, so you can create some really fun interactive gifts. You could die cut a photograph and create a puzzle with that. You could create a whole stamped background or a stamped design and die cut it entirely with the puzzle design. And since it is sized to fit on an A2 size card, it's going to fit in a regular envelope, which means it's going to be really easy to be able to give this to the recipient. So for my cards today, I decided to use pieces of the puzzle rather than the entire puzzle in its entirety, and I'm going to be pairing it with the Amazing stamp set. And I'm going to combine some of the sentiments from this set with some of the puzzle pieces that I thought worked really well together. So what I'm doing on this first card here is I'm just kind of figuring out which pieces of the puzzle I want to use and kind of laying out the design that I want to create. And I'm keeping all of these die cut from white cardstock because I'm going to add the color to them with distress inks. Now you can definitely save some time and die cut them directly from some colored cardstock or pattern paper, but I really wanted to get kind of the shading and the fun look with the distress ink, so I decided to go with those instead. So I picked out the colors I want to use on each puzzle piece, and I have my Smart Grid paper pad underneath me here so I can do some ink blending, and I'm just adding some color to these pieces. I really want this card to be really bright, so I'm going very saturated with the colors and I'm applying a lot of ink to each of the puzzle pieces. And I'm making sure to be very careful as I move around the puzzle piece that I don't bend up the little pieces that are sticking out there. Since this is just cut from cardstock, it will bend easily, so you just want to be careful when you're applying your ink to this piece. Now another alternative if you're looking to mass produce a bunch of cards is you could add one single color to a bunch of different cardstock panels, and then you could die cut the entire puzzle in its entirety from each of those panels and mix and match the different colors on your finished cards. So I'm just moving along here. I'm finishing up with my colors. I have a pink, I have a kind of orangey corally color, I have a yellow and a green one here, and I'm going to finish off with a blue aqua color one that I'm going to do with some peacock feathers. And then that is going to complete the puzzle pieces that I need for my card. Now when I start to arrange these onto my panel, I did trim my panel down slightly smaller than an A2 size card base. So this actually measures 4 inches by 5¼ inches. And that's just because I want to be able to see some of the card base around the outside edge once I finish up the card. So when I planned out the design, I knew that I wanted to have 2 of the puzzle pieces actually hooked together. So what I'm doing is I have them flipped upside down and I put them together, and I'm going to take a piece of tape and I'm going to adhere them together on the back. And this is just going to ensure that those puzzle pieces stay together once I add the foam adhesive to the back and adhere them to the panel, because I don't want them to separate. I want them to stay completely together on the finished design. I'm going to be adding all of the puzzle pieces to my card panel with thin 3D foam squares. These are my favorite foam squares for adding dimension because they are a lot thinner than regular size foam squares. And I love the subtle dimension that they add to a card, and they don't make it super bulky, so it's still really easy to mail out your card. Okay, so for this first one here, I want this one to be completely lined up along the edges of the cardstock panel. So I have that positioned nice and neatly in the corner, and I have a nice even margin around the side and the top of those puzzle pieces. And then I'm also going to place my sentiment on here now and stamp that straight as well. So I'm using my Misty stamping tool to do the stamping, and I lined that up underneath of those 2 puzzle pieces, and I'm going to stamp it onto the panel with some black licorice dye ink. And then once I have that stamped out, I'll be able to place the other 3 puzzle pieces kind of around those first 2 and the sentiment, because I don't want those ones to be straight. I kind of want to have them kind of on a diagonal and just in a fun pattern, kind of loosely around the rest of the card. I kind of wanted to make it look like the puzzle was started but not quite finished yet, because I thought it played nicely with that sentiment. So now I'm just going to add the foam adhesive to each of the pieces, and I'm going to add them to the card front. So once I had the foam adhesive fully on there, I just kind of played around with the design. I put other ones in place just to kind of get a feel for where they were going to go, and then I was easily able to figure out where I wanted to add them, and I could add them to the card front. And I don't want to have any of that excess kind of hanging off of the edges, so as I add each one to the card, I am going to use my scissors and I'm going to trim along the edge just to take the excess puzzle pieces off there. For this green one, I ended up deciding to keep this one straight. I thought it worked well with the yellow one and the aqua one that we're going to add, to have that one straight and kind of replicate the two at the top and then have the other two kind of on a diagonal. So I really like the design it ended up being, and I love how they kind of all fit onto that panel. And then once I have that last one there, I can trim that off, and then we can add our entire panel to a card base. So for the card base, we have a Razzleberry top folding A2 size card base, which is 5.5 by 4.25 in size. And I'm just going to place this right in the center so that we have that nice pink background kind of peeking around. And I love how it matches the pink puzzle piece that we created on the front. To finish up the card, I decided I wanted to add a little heart to the front as well. So I have a little heart here from the Tag Builder Blueprint 6 collection. I die cut it from a piece of white cardstock that I had added that same pink distressing to. And I'm just adhering it down on that green puzzle piece, and that is going to finish the first card. So now onto the second card. I decided to go really clean and simple with this one, and I'm only using one puzzle piece. So I have the center piece from the puzzle, and I'm adding some distress ink to this as well. This is the Twisted Citron, and I really love the bright green look of this puzzle piece and thought it would look really cool on this design since we're only using one of them. I have a sentiment from that same amazing stamp set, and I thought this one went well with the single puzzle piece since it says I've been searching for you. I thought it was kind of a fun play on words. And I've stamped that onto my panel with black licorice dye ink once again. This measures 4 inches by 5.25, and we've attached it now to a top folding card base that once again measures 5.5 by 4.25 inches. I'm going to add the puzzle piece right to the top area above the sentiment, and I have that same foam adhesive. And at first I thought I was going to put it on square, but I really like the look of having it kind of diagonal on there. And then once again, I'm going to use that same Tag Builder Blueprint 6 die set and cut out another heart, and I'm going to add it to the puzzle piece once again. And for this one here, I used that same picked raspberry distressing to color in my heart. I kind of moved it around, figured out where I wanted it, and then I adhered it directly onto that puzzle piece. So now we have two separate cards that use the Puzzle Cover-Up Die-namics. Both of them have a completely different design, but we were able to use one die to create them. So I hope you enjoyed today's videos and got some ideas for using this new die. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in another video soon. Thanks for watching.